Okay, it's time to do some adding and subtracting. A lot of people do not like to do this video. People think, I know how to add and subtract. Why should I watch a video on adding and subtracting? The truth is, a lot of people make such tiny little mistakes when it comes to adding and subtracting, and it affects their score because if you make a mistake in one step that you add or subtract, you get the entire question wrong. So that is why I took the time to make this video for you, to go over the mistakes that people make to make sure that you learn how to avoid them. So just hang tight, it's a quick video. I'm going to go over a couple of things and then you can go ahead and do that arithmetic drill I know you're dying to do so you can practice your skills and make sure that you're really great at adding and subtracting. Remember, we're working towards a high score on that ASVAB and we're going to do whatever it takes. So let's do this. So we're going to start off with the first one, which is 605 plus 224. First common mistake that people do is that they don't want to add by stacking them or rewriting the question. They want to just do like 6 and 2 and like 0 and 2, and they think that they're going to get the answer correct like that. Sometimes it really is worth rewriting the question. I mean, to me, it's worth it to rewrite the question if it means that I have a higher chance of getting it right. Because my goal is to get as many questions right as possible on that test, right? So I rewrote it, I stacked it. You see that the numbers are lined up, so I know exactly what is being added to what. I'm not going to confuse anything. And I'm going to do 5 plus 4 is 9. 0 plus 2 is 2. And 6 plus 2 is 8. Really easy. Really straightforward. We don't have to carry anything here. Let's look at the next one. Once again, I think it's worth writing it one above the other because I want to make sure that we get this question right. So I stack them up. 8 plus 8, 16. I put that 6, carry a 1. Super important. I know you guys know how to carry numbers, but a lot of you guys might not write the number that you're carrying and you want to hold it in your head. You got a lot going on in your head. You're thinking about how you need to pass this test. You're thinking about what job you want to get when you get into the military. You're thinking about things going on at home. You do not have space in your head to keep that 1 in there. So put it down on paper. Don't add more things to your head that you don't need. So put down that 1 when you carry it. 1 plus 7 is 8. 3 plus 0 is 3. Our answer is 386. Okay? So far, so good. Let's do one more of these and make sure that we have mastered the skill. So 415 plus 997. Okay, I stacked those things up. 5 plus 7 is 12. I'm putting that 2, carrying the 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 plus 9 is 11. I'm going to put the 1, guess what? I have to carry again. Am I going to keep that number in my head? No, I have things to think about. So I'm going to carry that 1 and I'm going to write it so I don't forget it. 1 plus 4 is 5. 5 plus 9 is 14. So I'm going to do 14,412. Okay? Okay, great. Now that we've looked at adding, let's look at a couple of subtraction problems. And let's make sure that we understand what to do in what situations. So we're going to start off with an easy one, super straightforward. We're going to stack it because we want to make sure we get things right. 7 minus 6 is 1. 0 minus 0 is just 0. And 3 minus 2 is 1. Real easy, real straightforward. If we have a 0 and a 0, remember it's still 0. Okay? Everything's stacked up. Awesome. Let's try something a little more difficult, shall we? 635 minus 228. A common mistake that people make when subtracting something like this is they see that the number 8 is bigger. So they're like, okay, I'm just going to do 8 minus 5 is 3. Wrong. Please don't do that. I know it seems like the right thing to do, but it's actually not. This is incorrect. What you need to do instead is you need to borrow, because we're still doing the top minus the bottom, okay? So if 5 is too small to subtract 8 from it, we're going to borrow from 5's neighbor. And 5's neighbor is 3. So when we borrow, we're going to cross out the number and write the new number that it becomes. We're taking away 1. So now this 3 becomes a 2. And when we take away 1, we add it to the front of the 5. So that the 5 becomes 15. Okay? So why did I rewrite it? Once again, I have things on my mind. I'm worried about other stuff. I cannot be bothered to hold some number in my head. So I'm going to do 15 minus 8 now is 7. 2 minus 2 is 0. And 6 minus 2 is 4. Everything is looking good. We're feeling good about subtraction. We're not making small mistakes. Okay? Let's do the next one. 300 minus 199. So 300 minus 199. Okay, remember, we cannot do 9 minus 0 because we know that's wrong now. We know that we have to do the top minus the bottom. So it is 0 minus 9. We have to borrow from the neighbor. But guess what? The neighbor has nothing for us to borrow. Their fridge is empty too. So we have to go to the next neighbor. And that next neighbor is 3. We're only going to borrow 1 from it. So this becomes a 2. And since we borrowed 1, we're going to put it in front of the 0. But it goes to this neighbor, not the other one. But we still need something for the last neighbor, right? So we're going to borrow from this 10. This becomes a 9. And now this one becomes a 10. Okay? So one more time. When we borrowed from the 3, it became a 2. And my first 0 here became a 10. But I go back to my original one that I'm trying to subtract first, and I realize I still need to borrow. So I go to the neighbor who now has 10, and I borrow 1 from him, which makes him a 9, and makes this last one, a 10. So now that everybody's all borrowed and set up, and I have everything written at the top, and I'm not trying to remember numbers, now I can subtract. So 10 minus 9 is 1. 9 minus 9 is 0, and 2 minus 1 is 1. So my answer is 101. Great job, you've gotten through the addition and subtraction portion of our video. Please go ahead and keep going. We're going to take a look at multiplication and division. It is time to multiply and divide. I cannot tell you how many people struggle with multiplication and division. What we're going to go over today is a couple of instructions on the most common mistakes people make when multiplying and dividing. I want to go over these things with you because you know what? A lot of people are so used to using calculators, especially now that we have calculators on our phones, and we forget the basic things like multiplying and dividing. I am sorry. Okay, so the point is this. Multiplying and dividing well, quickly, always getting it right, doing it good every single time you do it, is so important to the small steps in all the math sections on the ASVAB, okay? People who struggle with multiplying and dividing sometimes get them wrong, are too slow when doing it. They're the ones that struggle the most, and they're the ones that score lower on the ASVAB. But you are working on scoring high on the ASVAB. So the first recommendation I'm going to make to you before I even start going over the lesson completely is that you take some time, take a couple days to write out your multiplication tables. So just do like 2 times 1 equals 2. 2 times 2 equals 4. 2 times 3 equals 6. 2 times 4 equals 8. I know it doesn't sound like fun. I know you don't want to do it. But people who do this always improve their multiplication, always improve their score. And why is multiplication so important? Because being able to multiply well affects whether or not you can multiply and divide, okay? So make sure you take the time to do that. If you're working right now and your schedule's a little hectic, then take a little notebook have it in your pocket, one of those little notebooks you can get like at the dollar store or something, I don't know. But whenever you have a little bit of downtime, you take that little notebook out and you keep writing your multiplication tables. You do that for a couple days, 3, 5 days, you're going to be amazing. You're going to do so good, and your multiplying is going to improve dramatically. All right, so now that we've talked about that, let's get into multiplying larger numbers, okay? Once again, most common mistake people make, they try to multiply in their head, or they don't line things up. Stack these up once again so that you can multiply well, okay? First one, we're going to do 6 times 8, okay? We always do the first times the first. So 6 times 8 is 48. I write down the 8, I carry the 4. Are we going to try to keep a number in our head? No, we're not. We have a lot on our mind, right? You have a lot on your mind. I have a lot on my mind. So I'm going to write down that number right there, okay? 6 times 4 is 24. I'm going to add the 4 now. 24 plus 4 is 28. So our answer here is 288. Beautiful. Now that we've done this first one, let's go to the second one. It looks a little more complicated because now we have 2 numbers down here. So 62 times 34. So we start with this first one and we multiply it over here, okay? So 4 times 2 is 8. And 4 times 6, now we multiply over here, is 24. Now, to be able to move on to the 3, we're going to have to put a 0. Some people like to just leave a space. I like to leave a 0 because sometimes if you don't leave a 0, your numbers get all like weird and stuff. You don't want that. You don't want confusion. You're trying to score high on the ASVAB. So just to be certain, I recommend you add a 0. So now that we've added the 0, now we can multiply it by 3. So 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 6 is 18. Okay? Now that we've finished multiplying everything here, we're going to add. So 8 plus 0 is 8. 4 plus 6 is 10. I'm going to put that 0, carry the 1. 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 plus 8 is 11. Put the 1, carry the 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. My answer is 2,108. Okay, I hope you got that. Don't worry, you're going to get a chance to practice this in the math quiz that's underneath this video, okay? Let's do one more just to make sure you understand, okay? We're going to do 106 times 28. So we start off with the 8. 8 times 6 is 48. We put the 8, carry a 4. 8 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 4 is 4. Now we move on. 8 times 1 is 8. Now that we've done that, we put our placeholder 0 to make sure things line up nicely. And we're going to do 2 times 6 is 12. Oh, sorry. 2 times 6 is 12. Now I have to carry a 1. I'm going to cross out this 4. And I'm going to put a 1 above it. Why am I going to cross out the 4? I'm crossing out the 4 so I don't get it confused and add a 4. I want to make sure that I add the 1 that belongs there. You don't know how many people make that mistake. I just want you to avoid it, okay? So 2 times 0 is 0, plus that 1 is 1. And 2 times 1 is 2. Now that we've done that, we're going to add these beautiful numbers together. 8 plus 0 is 8. 4 plus 2 is 6. 8 plus 1 is 9. And 0 plus 2 is 2. That's it. We are done. Okay? Everything's looking good. We have just multiplied and we did a great job at it. Now on to division. So many people struggle with division. And I get it. It's not easy. So I really want to go over it with you because I really want you to do well. So I'm going to set it up first. 3 on the outside, 348 on the inside. So we're going to divide into that first number. 3 divided by 3. Okay? 3 divided by 3 is 1. 3, now we times it. Okay, we're going to multiply it. 3 times 1 is 3. So I'm going to put the product down here, and I'm going to subtract them. 3 minus 3 is 0. Now I'm going to bring down a 4. And I'm going to say 3 goes into 4, or 4 divided by 3. But 3 goes into 4 one time. 3 times 1 is 3, so I multiply. Remember, there's like a little multiplication sign there. 3 times 1 is 3. 4 minus 3 is 1. So now that I've done that, I bring down the 8. A lot of people don't like to put the arrows. I like to put the arrows because, once again, we've got a lot on our minds. We might forget to bring down a number. Or we might forget that we already brought down that number. So to make sure we don't get anything confused, we bring down an arrow every single time we bring a number down. So now 3 goes into 18 exactly 6 times. So 3 times 6 is 18. And 18 minus 18, boom, is 0. Okay? Our answer is 116. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, let's try it again, but this time with 8. So 8 goes into 204. Now this time, 8 is too big and it cannot go into 2. So we're going to do 8 goes into 20. Well, how many times does 8 go into 20? 8 times 2 is 16. And 8 times 3 is 24. Now 24 is way too big, so we're going to stick with 2. 8 times 2 is 16. So we're going to put a 16 down here. We subtract it and we get 4. Now we can bring down our 4. 8 goes into 44. It doesn't do it evenly. 8 times 5 is 40. That's really close. 8 times 6 is 48. That's way too big, so we're not going to use 6. We're going to use 5. So we put a 5 up here, and we multiply. 8 times 5 is 40. And we're going to subtract. Well, we have a remainder. What are we going to do now? Let's turn this into a decimal. So we're going to add decimal 0. And if we added a decimal here, we have to add a decimal here as well. Okay? One more time. We added a decimal here, so we're going to add it up here as well. Now we can add a 0, and we can bring down that 0. And this becomes 40. 8 goes into 40 5 times. Exactly. 8 times 5 is 40, and 40 minus 40 is 0. So our answer is 25.5. Great number. Okay? Now I know turning these into decimals is a little confusing, so just to make sure you get it, I want to do one more with you. So 4 goes into 8 2 times exactly. 4 times 2, 8. 8 minus 8, 0. Let's bring down that 3. 4 goes into 3. It cannot. 3 is too small. So what do? We do a 0. 4 goes into 3, 0 times. We have to put a 0 here. If we don't put a 0, you're going to get it wrong. So let's put a 0. Now 4 times 0 is 0. 3 minus 0 is 3. Now we can bring down a 2. 4 goes into 32. 8 times exactly. So 4 times 8, 32. 32 minus 32, 0. All right. We are all done. I know this is just a few examples, but it's to give you an idea of how to do this. Make sure you do those multiplication tables to help you get faster and better at doing your multiplication. And make sure to do the drills at the end of this lesson. So as soon as you finish this video, you'll see the quiz right below. Remember to check our frequently asked questions, and if you have any questions, just submit it in the form that's included on this lesson. Okay, good luck!